you, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting of September 10th of the Concord Historical Commission officially to order. Do I need to have a roll call for who's present?
Yes.
Okay, so
Nancy Nelson.
Michael Capizzi.
Bob Gross.
Melissa Salfield, Heather Gill as our staff, without whom we could not function. Present. So I think for the first sort of a business, we will, as we maybe just discussed, we will go from the end of the agenda to the beginning because one of our members will be a little late, and that is to approve the minutes of June 11th and February 13th. Starting with February 13th, the oldest. Do I have any emendations or perhaps a motion to approve?
Emendations.
Isn't that correct, Bob?
Amendments?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I've been
teasing
quarantined a long time. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I'm teasing you. I don't have anything on either, actually.
June 11th. Well, can I have, for the February 13th, I just had a couple grammatical things.
Okay.
Sorry. On the first paragraph, the very last sentence, I just think we were just typing away. And the person for which the street Ripley Hill was named, if you just take out some of the whom and after, you see that?
Okay.
And then the second paragraph, first line, that some of the architectural details, just drop out the that.
Okay.
I had time on my hands.
Yes.
Okay, with those changes, do I have someone who would make a motion to approve both of these minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Nancy.
Roll call. So Nancy,
Aye.
Bob Gross,
Yep.
Michael Capizzi, myself, yes, Melissa, yes. So we've approved the two sets of minutes. Thank you very much, Heather. Other business. Nancy, do you want to talk a little bit about what you've been overseeing on behalf of Route 2A?
Actually, I have three things.
Okay, three things.
I've been busy. I just want to bring to the attention of the commission project that Heather knows about and Marcia. The title of the project affecting Route 2A, particularly as it runs through the national park and through the communities of Lexington, Lincoln, and Concord, is called a repaving project. But it appears that it is not going to be just a repaving project, but there will be things like more multiple, perhaps, pedestrian crossings across two-way, which brings strong safety consideration. But what I hope the commission might pay attention to is the change to the very rural and simple character of Route 2A throughout the national park, with the addition of crosswalks and all the accoutrement that comes with safe pedestrian crossings now. We don't know what they're doing. We won't know for another year. And they will be submitting 25% drawings as well as 75% drawings together because they think it's going to be non-controversial. So they think. But I think people need to be vigilant and aware of what's being proposed out there. That's one thing. I'm sort of an intruder on the Haywood Meadow Stewardship Committee. This is a new topic. There was a meeting today. There's a plan for Haywood Meadow that was done by professional landscape architects and a historical landscape architect, actually, that I spent a lot of years working with. One of the recommendations in this very well thought out master plan for Haywood Meadow includes coordination with town committees. So mentioned were the Natural Resources Commission, I think DPW, and the Historic Districts Commission. But I think it would be very, very appropriate, since there are many, many ecologically oriented people advocating for pollinator meadow on Haywood Meadow. I think there's been very little attention paid to the historic nature of Haywood Meadow and why it was actually preserved in the first place many years ago. It was a big fight over many, many, many years.
Mhm.
And trying to now bring about some better balance between the current interest in pollinators and ecology and whatnot back and forth. So that's something that I want the Historical Commission to be represented in discussions about that. And I don't know if a vote is needed that we want to be on that list of town committees and commissions that are part of the discussion or not.
So Nancy, who is running the stewardship committee? Who's in charge?
Well, Joanne Gibson seems to have chaired the meeting today with, and Dealey, of course, been very heavily involved in this. And it was a good meeting. I think there's been an increasing awareness of the fact that especially the part of the meadow that's closest to the town has a really chaotic look about it. And there's a reason for that, because the plantings there are pretty chaotic in some cases. So I think both goals can be accomplished, but we need to be more careful about the historical importance of that meadow, which was not an overgrown meadow with really tall grasses and whatnot. So please go by and look at the meadow
Yeah.
and be aware of it and think about what it really could and should be.
Well, what does the master plan call for?
It calls for preserving and maintaining the historic and agrarian nature of Haywood Meadow. And the master plan is on the Haywood Meadow website.
Okay.
And it's really very, very good. But I think we've gotten far away from it. And so a couple of us are arguing to bring back also the historic importance of that.
So I'm curious, what is it you're concerned that the direction they're taking?
I think there is more to Haywood Meadow than planting lots of pollinators. And if you go to Haywood Meadow, especially to the part that is closest to town, there is a wonderful, astonishing, some people might say frightening array of insects that are actively, doing their thing right there. I had a grasshopper about 4 inches long jump right on my thigh and made me jump. But the views are of a very constricted landscape now. And I just think there's too many things trying to happen there. It's a very small meadow, so you can't have too many things going on at the same time. So just walk through the meadow if you can. Please familiarize yourself with it. Take a look at the management plan. It's very well written, especially the recommendations for those of us who are not devouring many huge reports right now. But that's what I just,
Can I
Nancy,
just ask? Okay.
have there been houses or other structures on the site in the past?
Yes. David, what's his name? Oh, Bob, don't quiz me. Yes, there was one, and there have been others. And you would probably know who they are. Ford was one, and then there was another guy right on the corner.
Long ago? A long time ago.
Yeah, and Richard Foreman's work is quoted in Ruth Wheeler's, and it's not onerous for a seasoned academic, but so you could probably breeze right through it.
I ask that because if the goal is to preserve an agrarian character, then maybe agrarian is only part of the history.
Yes.
It may have had a different character before then.
Well, it used to be it used to be very much a wet meadow environment
Mhm.
when the mill dam was still
Right.
on the western part.
Mhm.
There was a huge mill dam pond there.
Right.
And so those were open wet meadows. And I think Lynn Huggins' property retains some of the character of what that
Yeah,
might have
this
been
is
then. But now it's very different. And so I think both things can happen with some.
Sorry, that's the train.
What?
Sorry that you all had to hear the train to Boston.
I didn't hear it.
that's all right.
Oh, good.
So anyway, just take a look and make yourself aware because this conversation is going to go on. Rebecca, we're talking about Haywood
Hi.
Meadow.
That was my hunch was that it might be Haywood. Sorry to be
Yeah.
a little bit late, everybody.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'll
Welcome.
fill you in later if you want. And then finally, I'm just very curious to have an update on the status of the Wheeler Harrington House and the additions that have been made without approval, and what, if anything, anybody expects the Historical Commission to do about it. That's all.
Are there new things?
I want to know what's been done about the patio and the pergola and
I think Delia's been chasing them.
you know what?
Technically, it's her jurisdiction because
I know, but is it happening? I'm not sure.
I'll follow up with Delia. I'll send an email.
Thank you. I'm begging her on too many other things.
He's got some big red or orange chicken coop thing. I'm sure you've seen that, Nancy.
I did, but I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been by for a while.
Well, I mean, it looks to me like it's portable, so it's not like it's got a foundation, build it. I think.
Well, I think it's in an area that's outside the envelope that is our interest.
The chicken coops I went over with Delia because that was before everything happened and I was still in the office with her, and unfortunately they're not permanent and they're within the allowed zone of the NRC and the allowed use in that zone, so there was nothing she could do to prohibit the chickens.
She can,
Or the chicken coop.
but we can't because it's outside the sort of tenant use area, as I understand it.
Yeah, although I thought we didn't have we have really no jurisdiction. We can just advise Delia.
Well, we have the ability to advise, and we had commitments that they would consult with us on things that were proposed there.
And so far, we've heard nothing.
Well,
Can-
maybe nothing's happening, but
Yeah,
but Heather, that's my question. What's
Okay.
happening with that over there?
I would like to go back to the Haywood Meadow, Nancy's conversation about that, to ask you, Heather. It seems to me, I think Nancy brings a very good point that the Historical Commission ought to be represented on this committee. I would like to either write or call whomever is organizing it and say, we would like to be able to send a representative to the committee. Is that reasonable?
I don't know if we want to be like a representative on the committee, but maybe
Okay, well,
involved.
notified.
We want to be consulted.
Right.
So,
I will go to the meetings.
okay, so can we officially get CC'd on documents that they send out? Is that?
Yeah, so I will contact Delia and ask her, because she's probably the one like truly in charge, like sets up their meetings and stuff. So I'll ask her whenever there's something on Haywood Meadow or whenever that group is meeting to put me on the agenda list. And then I'll forward it to Nancy if she wants to be the one to represent the Historical Commission.
And in any case, I'll stay connected to that.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, when do they meet? They Zoom meet or they actually meet on site sometimes?
There's probably going to be upcoming a work party. So pulling some of the weeds, they seem to think it's okay to pull the ragweed and some other weeds. You need to go look. You need to go look.
I'm interested in it because
I'm very interested. It's
well,
challenging.
Delia had described the maintenance of it as that, you know, once or twice a year they would mow it down, and that was basically it.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm
they-
interested how.
Colleges really are arguing for leaving the part of the meadow closest to town up all year and mowing it in the spring.
I mean,
in
just
order
let
to
it grow.
protect the insects that are there. The insects overwinter in the twigs and the branches and whatnot,
That's the side that's
close to town.
close to town. Which, what am I saying? What's the road? Haywood Meadow Road, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's still on Lexington Road,
Yeah.
closer to
it's-
town. Not by the gun house, not that far.
Bisected by
Okay.
Haywood Meadow Road.
And that's where the mill pond used to be.
Where the information booth used to be?
No, the other side. It's
other-
the information
on the
booth's on the
side.
other side.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
those,
however, I just have to say that I can remember a town meeting, and bless Joanne Gibson, because she fought hard for this to keep it from ever becoming a basic big bus stop.
Ann Brooke
welcome
also and Mary Clark. And,
Yeah, it was a big hoo-ha, and it was really important. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's all I got. Sorry.
okay.
Sorry for taking up all that time.
While we're on sort of updates, Rebecca, I just want to, we started from the bottom so you could be a part of the conversation about the
Oh, thank you.
amendments. I just wanted to ask, just Heather, have we heard from the demolition folks, the people who are trying to reduce their bylaw, their period of purgatory?
Yeah, not yet. So the 1651, 1657, I've not heard anything from. And then 111 Ripley Hill Road, he has submitted kind of like 2 versions, and every time I get back to him and I ask for more details and more information,
Oh, yeah.
and I have not heard back from him since my last request for more information.
I mean, the one thing you sent me, I mean, he really just did what we'd already had. So I think I drove up there just the other day just to see. He's clearly preparing the other plot of land
Other
to put a
parcel, right.
house.
Mhm.
And the other house, the existing home, is on the market again.
Oh, interesting.
I was curious. I don't understand that. Do you know anything about that, Heather?
I don't know. There was one woman that had emailed me. This was well after we had already agreed to waive the demolition delay. And she emailed me complaining about she was trying to buy it from him and he wouldn't sell it to her, even though her offers were good. And I said, you know, unfortunately, that's none of the commission's, you know, jurisdiction on whether or not he's not required to sell the house. And yes, that's something we look at when, you know, whether or not you grant a demolition waiver or not. But this all happened well after you had already had that meeting with him.
Yeah. Well, you sent me on to her, and she also was actually offering him less than what he was on the market for. I mean, she didn't make any sense.
She wasn't giving him a full price offer, and you know, I think she kind of wanted us to step in and kind of force him to sell it to her, which we can't do. And we also can't go back on our word. You know, we had already made the agreement to waive the delay based on certain conditions. So I don't know what the status is of him selling it again.
But didn't you say he's not satisfied those
He has not. He has not.
commitments?
Right. We
Yeah,
won't
so he
grant
doesn't.
the delay waiver until he satisfies those conditions.
Yeah. So we don't want to do that prematurely, right?
Right. No, and
No,
that's
no,
why
no,
I've
no.
gone back to him twice and said, you know, your report's not complete enough for the
Right.
standards we're looking
So
for.
the question I have, though, he's got it back on the market. If
Right.
it sells again, whomever buys it, the demolition delay does not go with the property. They would have to, if they wanted to tear it down, they would have to come before us again, right?
No, the delay runs with the property.
Oh,
This
it
is
does.
one of the things we have.
That's one of the things on my
Oh.
list of potential changes in the future,
Yeah.
is having the delay run with the owner, not the
Owner, not the
property.
God, I should know better.
Bob
Okay,
has his hand raised.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Bob.
Yeah, so one of the things that really has unsettled me is when people propose to demolish a property that they're simultaneously peddling on the real estate market. You know, how do you argue that the property is unlivable when your real estate agent is showing it as the best you could ever get in town?
Well, although you should go up there, he's got, I don't know if they're test pits, he's got mounds of dirt all over the property. I don't know what that,
Well, I was thinking here of the house on, right down the road from me, you know, the one that looks out on Sudbury River that we we let them go ahead with the demolition.
oh, yeah, on Oak Road.
Coolidge Road.
Coolidge Road, yes, I'm sorry.
Right. So and remember, Heather, you and I went to look at it, and the real estate agent was utterly happy to sell it as a property you want to live in. And I remember thinking, it's got to be cognitive dissonance to be representing the house as something you would buy and enjoy for the next generation, and the next moment, tear the damn thing down as unlivable.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that cognitive dissonance should somehow be built into our rules. You cannot simultaneously say both.
Well, of course, the effect, if we change the bylaw, the demolition permit runs with the owner, not the property.
Right.
Fix that problem.
Right. But even before, I mean, they were coming to us asking for, you know, approval so that they would have a waiver on a demolition delay, while they were saying that it's unlivable, while they're marketing the house as livable.
Yeah.
I think we can fix that by requiring an explanation in great detail of why the house is not able to be fixed. I mean, we saw that. What's the street? Is it Hubbard Street? With
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
the owner and Jeff Adams claimed that it couldn't be saved. There's no possible way. It was just falling apart and awful, and now it's looking like a beautiful new house.
Well, I mean, we know it could be because it's just money.
Yeah, and there's very few houses that can.
Michael, you've developed lots of places. What do you think?
Well, let me say this. Most of the properties I developed were about 100 units and more, and most of those structures were either a coal-fired power plant, or some mills, or some schools. I did do 3 subdivisions, but they were farms that were not on. They were not historic. However, I refused to I refused to demolish trees on the property when, in fact, the town or city of Marlborough wanted me to take trees down that were adjacent to the road, and I said I would not do it, but I'll pay you if you want to do it, but I'm not going to touch the trees. Anyway, so my thought is that you know, as we all know, whether a property has value because of the land or because of the structure, whatever, there's always a buyer for something, and there's always someone that's going to walk away. So I think each property is different, but I do think that we're heading in the right track, trying to come up with at least a process, because what happens in these towns, as you all know better than me, is that when the community develops a reputation, which of course Concord has, of wanting to sustain the infrastructure, then many people who want to look at that community say, oh my God, I have to deal with those historic entities or whatever, and they would gravitate somewhere else where it would be easier to demolish something and then build something that was something to their liking. So I'm sure I didn't answer the question, but anyway, so my properties were all 100 units or more.
Well, has anyone driven up to see 111 Ripley lately?
I haven't, no.
Well, I just am puzzled what he's doing, because it's clear the one parcel he's preparing for, I think, to put in a foundation and build something. The other, where the house is, he just has enormous mounds of earth all over the place, as if he's, I don't know, drilling test pits or just using as a dump site. I don't know what he's doing.
The dirt is on 111 on the.
Yes, it's all over the front yard and on the side. Yeah, and then there's a for sale sign on front.
He can probably do that.
So I'm just,
Fortunately, he's allowed to do.
well, he's allowed to do what he
on the
wants.
property
Yeah,
as
I know.
long as he doesn't tear.
Just
the house
can't tear
down.
down the house yet, but
I do know that. Can I just ask you, Bob, did the folks at 1651 57 Main, the Damon Mill area project, have they reached out to you about your expertise? Or,
Yeah, train's going by in the other direction.
oh, sorry.
I always think, imagine Henry racing to catch it. So, yeah, they did. Unfortunately, with the library closed, I wasn't able to track down on online censuses who actually was living in that house in the period when they would represent it, I think. So I gave them what I knew, but I haven't seen what they've written, and I sent them off. I think there are, those fire insurance maps from the late 19th century. I think they could, if one could freely do research, you could find that out.
Well, they
But
could.
they're not on Amazon or any HDS or the other websites I go to.
But they would be in special collections.
They might well be. In fact, I think Special Collections did get those fire insurance maps decades ago.
Because all they would have to do is actually just request some help from Anka.
Yeah,
She's still there,
I haven't heard back after I exchanged back and forth with, the woman who was there representing the firm. She got back to me.
Well, okay. But, I mean, they promised to use interpretive text, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere in there. So I just think we have to, I mean, nothing's much is happening. They sold another house. There's a house that I was wondering if they bought it. The developers. I don't know if you noticed that. I drove by recently. Anyway, okay. Well, I just have one little question just to ask you, Heather, about the house that's being completely absorbed by Mother Nature on Fairhaven Road and Route 2. Are they going to take that down?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, the demo permit came across my desk a while ago.
I mean, you just go blow on it. It just about now.
It
It's
might
know
be
what?
something to do with like if they had to submit for planning and ZBA for whatever they're planning on doing on that property, that may be holding up the
okay.
demolition of it.
I just, some kid, it's about to collapse. And
There's a nice fence.
I mean, if it does, it's on record that historical commission
Oh, I know,
allowed the
I know. I
emergency
just don't want
demolition of
any
it and they never took it down.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, then all the other, before we get to the big meat of the evening, just to remind folks about town meeting. I don't know if all of you are hoping to attend this Sunday outdoors. Hoping that
Definitely.
Heather participates, and that I think it'd be, actually should be a really good meeting because it's more streamlined than past years, and
And the weather forecast is better
it's good. Yeah. Good.
as of tonight.
Okay.
I unfortunately can't make it to town meeting on Sunday. Will we be updated with regards to the article concerning the CHP and the?
Our Article 48 is going to be, is not going to be taken up
Okay.
on Sunday.
yeah, so the select board asked every applicant that submitted a warrant article whether their warrant article was urgent and needed to be taken up at this year's town meeting or could be put off to next year's town meeting or a special town meeting in the future. And Article 48, that applicant agreed that it was not urgent and could wait. So it'll likely be on probably next year's town meeting if he resubmits it.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so on to the bylaw proposed amendments so that you have, you print out both documents. I thought maybe the way to approach this is just to go line by line of the proposed changes. The first change, which is 2.7, Again, I know Heather and I have talked about this, and she has come up with these. These are things that have been talked about over the years as changes that we think we could get through without too much Sturm und Drang at a town meeting, because we know that, you know, any change is going to upset somebody. It really is too bad we couldn't have done it this town meeting, because I think we might have been able to slip through. But
Do you want me to screen share? Would that be easiest for everyone to see it?
can you do that? Put it on the screen?
Yes, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah.
Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yep, that's great.
I like that. That's good, because our faces are a lot smaller. Okay. We want to zero in on the yellow yellowed area.
Yeah,
So this is the first change would be something that the Historical Commission has tried before and failed to change. So this will probably be the hardest change that we're proposing this time around, but it would be changing the requirement that houses built before 1941 trigger the review to houses 50 or more years old would trigger review. So
What's everyone's feeling? I think this is, to me, it's a no-brainer. So we're all in favor of this? I just thought we were going to go through each one.
yeah, I would.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe
So-
we can take silence as unanimous consent since we're not all
Okay, I'll
here.
take silence as consent. Thank you. And then moving on, Heather, you want to just go on to the next one?
yeah, so some of it's a formatting change, just the way the bylaw is formatted right now, it all is kind of like all run together and hard to read. So I kind of formatted it a little bit differently. So just wherever it says formatting change.
Yep.
And then, so this is just changing the definition of historically significant. So sometimes we run into the issue where a house is not listed in a national register. It's not listed in our survey of historic and architectural resources, which means technically we can't find it historically significant. It could be a historic house that has somehow slipped and is not listed in that document that we have. So this is just kind of cleaning it up a little bit. So it's whether the structure is within an area listed on the National Register or eligible for listing. So that it's adding that eligible for listing criteria. And then adding a criteria that it could be found to be historically significant for its association, which these are kind of the National Register standards. Its association with a historic person, a historic event, because of its building construction style, its architectural style, the builder that built it, or because it's located close to a historic district, which in the future, the town may want to try to pull it into a historic district. So that's the reason for that.
I think these are all excellent. So
I think that's great, and it really conforms better with the National Historic Preservation Act, I think. And
Yeah, and I think it really broadens the definition of historically significant and gives us a lot more wiggle room to find structures historically significant should we want to.
Can I suggest one word change?
Yep.
Change to significantly associated instead of importantly associated.
Which one is that
where
under?
are you?
It's under number 3,
Yep.
A.
where you say importantly associated,
Oh,
substitute
A.
significantly.
Okay.
But why even modify? Why don't you just say associated with one or more historic persons? No?
I think I'm guessing, Heather, but I took it that you wouldn't want somebody saying, well, it only had a passing acquaintance.
Well,
So to give a stronger argument, you'd say it's significantly associated rather than, superficially so.
It might be that language comes from something else, like the law itself. Heather, is that just your word, or is it part
I don't remember.
Oh,
You
okay.
drafted it.
Well,
It's up to you guys whether you want it changed to significantly or just that word taken out entirely.
It's fine.
I think the word should just come out entirely, and I think if you want to put a word in front of it, but I don't know if you want to, I think the word associated, is great going forward with all the other criteria, but once you say significant, can somebody challenge the word significant?
Yeah, I-
That's a
and I
good
think
point.
There might
Okay.
be
Am I making sense?
a lot of arguments about exactly what significantly
Right.
entailed.
Exactly.
So just take out important.
I think Mike, makes a good point. Let's just
Yeah.
associate it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
And then the rest, that's all, we all agree?
Yes?
Yes, excellent.
2.9?
2.9. Oh, so this is changing. So this is the third change. And this is changing. So right now the delay runs from the application, the date that the application is submitted. And sometimes we've found in the past
Yep.
that, the applicant keeps requesting a continuance and we don't get to it for a while. So this is changing the delay period to run from the date of the determination that a structure should be preferably preserved
Yep.
versus when they submit the application.
So this would be actually our hearing, right?
Right, the
Yep.
public hearing, yeah.
That's excellent.
So, and then, those are the those are the changes. Heather, what about what we just talked about earlier this evening, that the permit runs with you think this is too much, runs with
I think it's too much. I think this is already, people are gonna be, whoa, you're making changes to this bylaw, and the 50-year one is going to be a hard one. The other two will be, I think, should be smooth. So I think adding another hard one to change might be a little worrisome to do at town meeting, because it might just turn people off more versus just focusing on, the one hard change that we want to make.
fine. I mean, I know, I have sat it through enough town meetings to can hear it in my head,
Right.
complaining.
Where are we on the warrant? What's the number again?
Well, this would be for next year,
It would be for next spring.
Oh.
next year,
So we don't have any idea of the order.
where
No.
we would be, no.
Okay, never mind.
Can I say something?
Bob?
Yeah, the 50-year thing gives me pause in terms of how people would react. So I'm still around and kicking, and my book, Minutemen in Their World, is approaching its 50th anniversary,
Oh my.
which makes me think I could have moved here, built a house, still be alive, and the first sale of the house after I built it would be in my lifetime. So, you could really imagine somebody saying, hey, I built this house. It's not already a historic house. I haven't even left it.
Well, on the other hand,
Well,
some of us are just old. Let's face it.
I
Correct.
think it's fine.
I think to me, it's just a lot cleaner. I know we need to put together materials to justify it and see what other communities, which we've got, data for. But
Right.
it makes it a lot easier, this sort of arbitrary 1941, where that ever came from.
Right.
The only reason it gives me pause is thinking of, for example, I remember, and this is dating myself, I remember when Partridge Lane was completely, all of the little McMansions went up when I was a child. It was all dirt lots, and then it all became McMansions. So that would have been in the late 80s. And so just thinking that, pretty soon, not a couple more decades, those houses would be 50 years. And do those need to come before?
Well,
I mean, that's why it just gives me pause to think of how that's just going to keep shifting forward.
So, Rebecca, when you say it gives you pause, so if you help, maybe you already finished that thought. So it gives you pause we're asking too much. Is that criteria too strong? for you?
At what point? I don't know. I would just have to think about it, I guess, in terms of,
Well, you still have to apply the standards and the criteria for
Right.
for significance. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Right?
And
Right.
I think you might get saved on that.
Just because a house is 50 years or older and has to submit an application doesn't mean we're going to find it historically significant.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
could just
What if I said those McMansions are associated historically with a period of conspicuous display, consumption, and grandiosity, and the
So-
hardening of social
so-
class lines? That
So,
would be worth preserving.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we want to have a discussion on the 50-year date is, you know, that was just a date that other towns have used. We
Yeah.
could use 75 years, which is another date that other towns use. We could make up our own and say 60. We could say 65 years old.
this could be amended at town meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to stick with
Right.
50.
I mean, I think the 50 is good. I like the 50, but you know, if you feel that you can't get it through, then that's a separate issue.
It gives us wiggle room in case the
Right.
town really balks.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
And,
Right.
again, I
Someone
think
could
it
always
helps
stand
with-
up on the floor at town meeting and say, make an amendment on the floor that they want to change it to 75 years.
They might.
So I think the uphill battle we have with these proposed amendments is justifying the 50 years. So we'll have to do like a lot of research on towns. I'd be interested in finding towns that have changed their bylaw
Mhm.
to 50 years, why they did it, the justifications they used, if it was hard to pass at town meeting, that sort of thing.
Trying to remember, I think in the national park, we thought in terms of 50 years.
You did.
I'm trying to remember what the absolute formal requirement was. In the management plan, I think it said something different, but I think the practice was 50 years. You have to be careful.
Well, but as Heather says, you know,
Lot
it
changes.
also has to meet other criteria.
Yeah, absolutely.
50
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, we could we might be getting a lot more applications, but they might not we may not trigger any more public hearings than we already have.
Right.
Just at this point in time with the houses that were built 50 years ago, there may be a handful of them that are significant.
Tear those down and build smaller ones.
I also think the idea that it might require more people to come before us would be a good thing.
That's right. It does send that message that we talked about earlier about getting the message out there that, yes, everybody knows Concord is historic. Everybody
Yeah.
knows of the history of it, but this, you know, makes it, I'm not saying you need strength in it, but it just sends a message, oh my goodness, you know, this town really is focused on its historical inventory.
Like that. Okay, so the next step is we just typed this up. I don't remember the whole process about submitting this for the warrant article for next year.
Oh, I was just making sure. Yeah, everything else is just a formatting change.
Yeah. Which I like it because it's a lot easier to read what you have changed. It's much easier to read.
Yeah.
It used to be like the terms of service when you download software.
So do you need a motion
So,
at this point?
I think what I'll do is I'll make these, the one change that we've discussed, and I'll try to put it into like a draft warrant article for your next meeting.
Okay.
And then we could approve a warrant article to
Next time.
submit. And then what we would have to do, I believe we have to, I don't think it has to happen right away, but I can find out when. We'll have to hold a public hearing because we're submitting a warrant article. And I'm not sure, I have to find out because I know when HDC submits a warrant article, the planning board, I believe, holds the public hearing for it. It falls under the planning board's jurisdiction. So I'll have to find out if it's the same for historical commission. Just like when CPC submits their warrant article, it falls under FinCom. So FinCom holds the public hearing for the warrant article. So I'll have to find out those details, but I can work on for the next meeting, drafting up a draft warrant article to get together, which would be awesome to have that already done.
Nancy?
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go
Can
ahead.
anybody hear me? Because I lost, I can't
Yes.
see you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Oh, okay, because
I can hear
somehow or other, one of your dogs, Kathy, can you come over and fix this for me, honey? I call my wife, she's technically versed. Somehow or other, I'm looking at Safari and contacts and calendar.
We can hear you.
Rose, did you do this?
We can see it too.
So my only thought was, does it make any sense for us to approve the changes subject to that one tiny word change? So we don't have to go through this all over again? Not that I don't trust this group to rehash the whole thing all over again, but we might as well get that off the table, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to formally like approve the warrant article, I think you have to have the warrant article in front of you, which would have a little bit more language in it than
Oh, okay.
this.
Okay, I tried.
What if I were to move, do we authorize you to
The draft
draw up a warrant article with that one change for our review and approval at the next meeting?
Yeah, you can do that.
Sounds fine.
Have a second?
Second.
By Nancy Nelson. Thank you. So it's locked in. Thank you, Bob.
We just need a roll call
Good
vote on that.
idea. That was a good idea.
We need a roll call vote on that.
All in favor of Bob's motion, Nancy,
I vote yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Bob,
Yeah,
Michael,
Yep,
me, Melissa, yes. Unanimous. Thank you. And thank you, Heather. So the next meeting is.
Can I connect him?
Yes,
I forgot to mention one thing, and I think this is amusing, but it may come back in a serious way. I was approached by somebody today who is having heart failure with the nature of stone walls that are being erected in front of residences in town. I know one next to the Daniel Chester French House.
Yes.
These are very inappropriate for Victorian and other neighborhood homes. I guess there's one on Main Street. Bob, do you know it? Or Elm Street that may be quite notorious. I haven't seen it yet, but I was asked if the Historical Commission would write a letter to the editor clarifying that these are not appropriate additions. But I think this is a good illustration of why the Historical Commission should be in closer contact with the HDC.
So those aren't, HTC hasn't approved any stone walls recently, so
None of those
I
are-
mean, next to Daniel Chester French House, right on that street.
they have not seen an application, so I need to know the address to see if it's in the historic district or not.
Is Daniel Chester French House is.
That one is, it's very kind of like sporadic over there, which ones are in that.
Well, it's white. It's a white. Do you know the one, Melissa? Anyway, yes, it'd be fun to see actually because it's there's another stone wall around the corner. It's like a corner lot, as I remember. And there's another stone wall that's a little bit broken down, but this one's like
It's new. Are you
40
talking
inches high, and it's very formal and very bulky, and it's very not friendly and very much not in the spirit of the Victorian house.
If you find the address, will you send it to me? Because
Yeah.
HTC hasn't approved anything down on Sudbury Road or Elm Street in terms of a stone
Really?
wall.
Oh,
So either it's not in the HDC or they're doing work without HDCs.
Is this the one on
it's
Sudbury?
so obvious. I bet they wouldn't have done it.
It's the
Well,
one,
anyway. And then Main Street or Elm Street, do you know of one? Well, keep your eyes open for that too.
well, Nancy, are you talking, the house has got, it's white with green trim. It has a big
Yeah.
wraparound porch or mostly.
Yeah.
Oh, that house
It's
is not in the
beautiful,
historic
huge
district.
addition, very, very nicely done.
It's not in the historic district.
Oh, it's not.
Nope.
Oh,
I know what
too
house that
bad.
is
Too bad.
because I know the.
I know the house you're talking about. It's a new rock wall. They put a lot of money in it.
Oh,
Just down from Crosby's.
it's massive. Yeah, it's a massive wall. Anyway, okay, that's all I had.
Well,
Be quiet.
is there anyone have any other business?
can I ask a question?
Of course.
Where are the dogs? Where are the dogs?
Oh, good question.
Well, my
Where's your
dog
puppy?
is asleep because she was a out of
Melissa,
control.
did you put a muzzle on your dog? 'Cause-
I drugged her.
and Heather, what was your dog?
She was
I've
awful.
got one at my feet and one in the living room.
Well, good. Okay.
We got
Oh,
two.
we have 3 dogs? Well, I'm lobbying for one. I'm not getting very far. But we'll see.
Well, thank you all. So the next meeting would be the second Thursday of October, which I don't know what.
I can, if you give me 1 second, I can look it up. October 8th.
Wow.
Oh, it is? That's the second Thursday?
Yeah, because the first is a Thursday.
Oh, the first is a Thursday. Okay, so
By
I'll be
elimination.
here. So, but I vote for these approvals. I would have to ask someone to chair the meeting. I will be away.
Oh, so that was another discussion. So the board member terms that were supposed to expire in May were extended through the month of town meeting. So it's, I wrote it down. I believe it's Nancy, Melissa, and Alan's terms are expiring. So Melissa and Nancy, you're just finishing up your first 3-year term, so you can do a second 3-year term if you want, and I can submit that to the town manager for approval. I just need your okay that you want to stay on.
Please, please.
I will. Yeah, I will.
So I'm sorry, Alan's not here.
I'll email him separately.
Okay. I'll stay on. We may want to select a different chair, but we can do that.
Yeah, once we have like a full slate and we're kind of maybe by, I don't know if he'll have it done by October, but once everyone's officially on board again, then we can do officer elections.
Okay.
And have that discussion.
Okay. So in the past, I've asked you, Nancy, I've asked you to chair a meeting. Would you be willing to chair on the 8th?
Or in your absence on October 8th?
Mhm.
Sure. If anybody else would like to, that would be great. But I can do that.
Okay. Okay. And perhaps Alan and Tom would be back. Did you hear from Tom?
Yeah, he just had a conflict tonight. So hopefully in October. I think he's actually said in his email he'll be here for the October meeting.
Okay, good. Okay.
Hi, Susan.
Is Susan here?
I see her box and her name on it.
Well, you're lurking, Susan. We don't.
I am, sorry.
I'm sorry to call you out, but I couldn't help it.
Well, I just wanted to make one comment, and that is that the materials for town meeting
Oh,
will be
right.
given on Sunday or online. So if you can't make town meeting or you can make town meeting and you want to review the material before, it's available.
Yes, it is on the website.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
So
going to be historic.
it will be.
it will be, yes.
Socially distanced.
Sorry to miss it.
So, Susan, can I just ask, did you hear our discussion about our proposed changes for our bylaw?
I did. I came in about 10 minutes late, but I started at item 2.7. So,
Which is
yes.
that's when we began. Okay.
yeah.
So I'm quite thrilled by this. I mean, if we can get this succeed, it will be a big step in the right
Yeah.
direction.
I just wanted to give you an update. I emailed Stephen Crane about the maintenance on the West Concord Depot, which has been an issue that is not yet resolved. And he said that before COVID, he had a fairly productive conversation with the contractor who does maintenance for MBTA, but then COVID happened, so he's going to follow up on that.
Good. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Because, as a member of the Green Thumbs, we work on all the gardens over there, and it's, it really is such an eyesore.
Yeah, yes.
Do you happen to know whether or not the MBTA is still trying to get a new tenant?
I don't know that.
Oh, interesting. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can ask Stephen and report back next month.
I mean, that has been my understanding that the gentleman who runs the cafe there is on a month-to-month lease.
Hmm.
Because the T had been interested in getting somebody new in there.
Are they open during?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I saw the open sign there today when I walked by, so.
But he doesn't have any outdoor seating, does he?
No,
Well,
he
yeah, he
could
did.
though.
I don't,
He had
There's space.
tables that I saw the other day. Yeah,
There is space.
there's
Wow.
plenty of space. If he would, I don't know that he's got the tables, but there were 2 tables
Well,
the other
it
day.
may be, you know what? It may be time.
Yeah.
It's a great location.
Oh,
It could be really exciting there.
it could be.
Beautiful little park right there, close to the liquor store.
Pipeline. Okay.
Lots of wine, yeah, lots of wine choice. Anyway, okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. So thank you very much, Heather, for all your work on this one. This is a lot, and it's smooth sailing. I hope it's a smooth sailing next spring. And perhaps we'll see some of you at town meeting. If not, as Susan said, the documents are all online. So thank you, and we'll see you maybe next month, some of you.
Goodbye.
We just need a motion to adjourn.
Well,
Drop me a line if you want an update on Hayward Meadow.
I do. Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
We'll be offline. Okay, so I do need to get a motion to,
So moved.
well, I need someone to make the motion.
I just did, so moved.
So move.
To
Second.
adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Thank you, Bob. All in favor, Nancy?
Yes.
Rebecca? Bob?
yep.
Michael?
Yes.
Melissa, yes. Thank you, Heather.
All right.
Great
Well,
meeting.
I'll see you guys on Sunday.
In order.
Bye.
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 Take care.